Hello everyone and welcome to Pale Cachexia. We are continuing the next... Well, I'm continuing the next night. I don't know when you might be continuing. Or maybe you are here for the first time. That's nice. Anyway, the game has been released recently. It's right now with the release discount of 10%. I've got asked to play the game, so I'm playing the game. It's super enjoyable and, well, I would totally recommend this game. So if you would like to purchase it for yourself, it's in the link is in the description as per usual. No, I don't get it anything out of it. So yeah, anyway, I just enjoyed the game itself, right? Technically I did get the game, but let's get to it. Once they finished eating, the two girls made a brief return to the manor. Despite Seina's protests, Esther stubbornly insisted on washing up their dishes. Her pride refused to let the younger girl handle everything, even if Seina was probably far more capable at it. Let's go back. And there again, it's outside. Here you are, Esther! When they reunited outside, Seina handed her a large, sturdy broom, even bigger than the one she'd been using earlier. Just like with the buckets, she held a second broom that was smaller and more suited to her size. The broom was far heavier than Esther expected. It had a slightly dusty, preserved look of something that had sat unused for years, but hadn't been forgotten.
I know I've already done a lot today, so if you need to rest, just tell me, please.
Thank you.
But I'm fine. I can keep working. Alright, but you can always stop whenever you need to.
Through Seina's gentle smile, Esther thought she could detect a hint of worry. It was more than a little unexpected, considering they'd only just met each other yesterday.
The place we're heading in a few minutes' walk from the manor. Let's go, shall we?
Let's do it, yeah. Are we going to the cemetery finally, or... I don't know why I want to go there. I don't know. I really don't know. Motioning for Esther to follow, Seina set off eagerly into the woods. Her excitement must have hastened her steps, for Esther suddenly had trouble keeping up with her lively pace. They hurried along a slender, winding path, and the manor's statuesque presence soon disappeared among the branches. Once it did, Esther found herself swiftly losing all sense of direction among the sea of vibrant leaves. She was thoroughly glad she had Seina to guide her. Otherwise, it seemed unlikely she would ever find her way back. I mean, could always try to make some marks in some way.
Here we are!
A short while later, they emerged into a less densely wooded area. Okay, I think I have an idea. At first, Esther thought she was imagining things. But when she looked more closely, she realized she was seeing exactly what she thought. Which is a cemetery.
That's a pretty huge one.
Is it a family one? Like going generation by generation, I wonder, or... A serene, beautiful graveyard.
No, let's not go that far.
Captured in the golden sunlight like a forgotten relic lost to time. Rows upon rows of headstones stood between the trees, each one a different shape and size. But despite their obvious age, and the fact that they were nestled in the woods instead of a proper clearing, every grave looked incredibly clean. Was that a freaking... Oh no. No, you don't. Goddamn mosquito. It gave the cemetery a strange, ethereal atmosphere, with the same awe and reverence that surrounded mythical artifacts in a museum. Ooh. Not far in the distance, a large mausoleum rose up on the shore of the graveyard pond, casting a somber reflection across the water. You know what I would like to actually check? I guess it's not there. I had to check if there was like the speed of how. Not how the text crosses, but the entire dialogue box. What's this? Oh, okay. Did notice that earlier. It caught Esther's eye, and for a moment she found herself mesmerized by its towering presence.
Are you looking at the mausoleum? It's locked, I'm afraid. I've looked all over the manor and the grounds, but I don't think I will ever find the key. But Papa must have lost it.
Episode 1. I mean, first video. We found it. That's the key for it, definitely. Finally, we found out what that key was about. I'm so glad. Seina offered a small, wistful smile, shaking her head. Esther pulled her focus back to the other girl, blinking. It felt like something strange had come over her briefly, but she had no idea what it was.
Why do you tend to this place so closely? Is anyone you know buried here? No, I don't know any of them.
To Esther's surprise, Seina shook her head. It seemed far too insensitive to ask where Seina's father was buried if he wasn't in the graveyard. So Esther bit her lip and let the other girl continue.
I kinda really suspect he's not dead. Actually, I don't really know who's buried here. Papa never gave me much of an answer. But since this manor belonged to his family, the cemetery is probably for old relatives. All of the graves seems like they've been here for a very long time.
As her gaze drifted across the headstones, Seina's expression grew a little more distant again.
I don't know why, but I've always been drawn here, ever since I was a little girl. It feels so peaceful, lonely but peaceful and comforting in a strange way. Like a place that will always be here, always the same, as long as I take care of it.
Her words trailed off slowly, ending in little more than a whisper that faded into the breeze. But only a few lingering seconds passed before Seina seemed to catch herself, blinking and restoring a brighter smile to her face.
Well, let me show you what I usually do here. It's an easy chore and very calming. I think you'll like it.
It was impossible to just ignore the brief moments that came over Seina, where it seemed like she wasn't aware of Esther's presence at all. Huh? What do you mean by that? But then again, after being alone for so long, it was only natural that she'd fall back into her own thoughts now and then.
I am ready. With these brooms, sweeping is involved somehow, I assume. It is! What a clever guess!
Are you being sarcastic right now?
Come! I will start over here in the northwest patch.
I mean, there is not much to sweep, really. Gently taking Esther's hand, Seina led her over to the first row of graves. She demonstrated how she cleared each headstone of stray leaves and surrounding weeds, and once or twice a week picked little bunches of flowers to rest beside the markers. Like Seina had said before, the task was easy and calming. Despite her initial hesitance, Esther soon found herself enjoying how peaceful the cemetery felt, and lowering the dead certainly seemed like a worthwhile effort. I mean, cemeteries are peaceful places. Yet despite the soothing lull in thoughts it afforded her, and the secluded beauty that surrounded them. Why am I... What's with the colors in the webcam today? Ah, whatever. Esther couldn't shake a sense of uneasiness that tingled at the nape of her neck. A sense that they were not alone in the cemetery. It was completely irrational, and she couldn't explain it no matter how hard she tried. But even in the daytime, with the sun's gentle afternoon rays filtering through the trees, something about the graveyard shadows struck her as peculiarly haunting. I wonder what exactly she was thinking about there. Like details. As evening began to slowly settle over the forest, the two girls made their way back to the Manor. Despite her tiredness, Esther's heart leapt at the prospect of finally beginning her research once they arrived. And true to her promise, Seina took Esther straight up to her father's study. By the time they arrived, however, the towering bookshelves blocked out most of the remaining sunlight, so they had to fetch a few candles to alleviate the gloom. According to Seina, she used such light sources sparingly, as non-wood fuel was difficult to stockpile. Okay. Luckily, there were a few types of shrubs and trees in the forest that she could extract wax from, as well as seeds and nuts that could be crushed for oil. But since Esther was a special guest, Seina assured her that she could light as many candles as needed during her stay. I actually have one, but I don't have the ability to light it up right now, because I'm too lazy to get up.
It feels like so long since I've seen any candlelight in this room.
Well, you decided to fire up a lot of them.
Well, it has been quite long, I suppose. The last time was when Papa still were around.
Setting a newly lit candle down the desk, Seina let out a quiet sigh.
Seina, your father... I've meaning to ask, what was his name? Oh! His name was Isaiah.
Or should I say Asa? No, Isaiah, yeah.
It's so strange to say it out loud, since I never called him that. I only heard someone use his name once, back when I was very small.
She fiddled with the hem of her dress, her gaze drifting away from Esther's.
Ah, I'm sorry about the mess in here. All these loose papers probably make it hard for you to find what you're looking for. Papa never liked to throw things away, especially not his letters, not even his little scribbles or notes. You can read any of them if you like, but well, Papa always told me not to peep at his writings. So even now, I try to leave them as they are. You'll probably think I'm very silly for it, I'm sure. I can help you with anything else, though. Would you like me to sort out the books, maybe? No, it's alright. You've been very kind to me already. I don't want to push you any further.
Her words were quiet and gentle, but firm. She didn't want to take advantage of Seina's generosity. And although she'd never mentioned directly, Esther also needed some time alone.
Alright then, I'll leave you to it. If you need me, I'll be in the kitchen fixing up the dinner. You can calm down whenever you're ready.
Beaming at Esther encouragingly, she turned towards the door, lifting her hand in a little wave.
Good luck. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Why did the atmosphere suddenly change? Anyone else feeling that? As Seina's presence faded away, the study's atmosphere steadily began to shift. I was correct. A dark, grim cloud of memory seemed to hang over the room, specters of unending nights and restless sleep. Although Esther couldn't pinpoint exactly why, she had that distinct sense that this chamber belonged to a deeply troubled mind. I mean, yeah. Clutching a candle in one hand, she started to scan through the shelves, her eyes flicking across the numerous titles. Seina was right. Her father already had collected a staggering assortment of books. But as she glanced over the various titles before her, Esther noticed something unusual. Despite Isaiah's obvious focus on alchemy, there seemed to be almost as many books on ghosts and spirits and a number of treatises on the supernatural. Interesting. Were they related to his search for a cure at all? I mean, I guess he might have been looking in every possible nook and cranny. Or was there some other reason for his apparent obsession? Esther couldn't understand how ghosts might be related to the Pale, so maybe he'd simply found them interesting to research. Still, the anomaly stuck out in her mind, leaving her with a nagging set of questions. He has so many books, really. I aspire to have that someday. As she opened up a large book on biology. Suddenly, a loose leaf of parchment fluttered out. Esther bent down to pick it up, turning the aged paper over in her hands. It looked like a journal entry, but there was no date to be found. Another desk? Curiously squinting at the messy script, Esther brought it over to the nearest lamp and began to read. What was there? Come on. 7 days have passed since Amaranth left me. Who? 3 days since Jeremiah told me he saw her with another man, her previous husband, now miraculously returned from his absence. Yikes. I cannot eat. I cannot sleep. My heart bounds with manic energy between rage and this crushing sense of abandonment. I understand why we feel like that. In the depths of my darkest moods, I look back on the long months of her pregnancy, months that I spent on the carpentry, furnishing, cleaning, planting, remaking this dusty tomb of an estate into a family manor. I just realized it's her mother, ain't that true? I guess that might be the reason why he didn't want her to read anything in this, let's say, office of his. All for her, all because she could never stand life in the dreadful city. And where is she now? Back in his chambers, no doubt, embracing him in the darkness so that she might hide the shameful stretch marks of her maternity. Damn her, that sycophantic wrench. Damn her and her lecherous, adulterous bastard of a husband. Oh, how I used to wonder what such a beautiful soul as her might have seen a waste of flesh like him. But now, with that veil lifted from my eyes, I finally understand. They are alike, two souls perfectly matched in their shallowness and fickle attentions. What a ridiculous fool I was, ever believing that she might come to truly care for a penniless researcher, one with nothing to offer her but himself. And now, what am I left with? A small child, and no mother to raise it. An old family home, and no family to fill its many chambers. A retirement from my life in medicine, without anything worthy left to retire for. No, I refuse. I refuse to let her triumph over me. I'll remain here, away from that toxic conurbation, isolated among the fruits of my sweat and labor. With these foundations I have laid in the land, I know I can survive solely by myself, without recourse to the city's indulgent pleasures. Here, amidst my tomes and papers, I'll press onward in my research toward the last and most important focus of my life. A cure for this disease. And as for the little girl, we look nothing alike, she and I. So what? Indeed, now that I'm privy to her mother's treachery, I suspect her father may be another man entirely.
Dude, but she considers you a father anyway.
The little hairs on her head are purely golden, and everything from her eyes to her lips is nothing but a bitter replica of that woman's features. She even has the self-same twinkling, uncaring laugh, as if the world could never touch her nor dare to make her cry. The very thought irritates me to no end. I cannot bear the sight of her, an unending reminder of the future that was stolen from me. Thus, I am resolved. I'll take the girl to the city and leave her in the hands of the orphanage there. Wow, please don't do that. A less cruel fate, no doubt, than to remain forever imprisoned with an unloving father. In the end, I know I could never truly amount to anything more for her. Yeah, I mean, even more I understand why he didn't want her to read the stuff that's there. Huh. Crazy to think that. I mean, she might be the daughter of the woman that basically cheated you and left you behind for her supposed husband, previous husband that was supposedly dead or something, whatever, really, right? But that doesn't mean the daughter would be like mother. You know, she's daughter. You raise her. I mean, I guess he did, but you know, still he had these thoughts. As Esther's eyes strive. Did I say Esther's father? No, Seina's father. Ugh. I'm not actually sure if I said it. I think I said, but whatever. Okay, Seina's father. As Esther's eyes drifted across the page's last words, she felt a strange, uncomfortable sense of guilt in her chest. The girl he was talking about. He had to have meant Seina. Did he really feel so bitterly towards her? Obviously, Isaiah hadn't taken his daughter to an orphanage. Good. But then again, we don't know why. Actually, we might know why. Because of his illness, right? He probably wouldn't be able to go on his own as well. Unless he actually had some heart and thought, you know, I actually love that daughter of mine. Let's go. But his resentment of her sounded deep-rooted. It felt invasive and overly intimate to be reading his private thoughts, but did Shirley have much choice? If there was any chance Isaiah's writings hinting at a cure. I mean, hinted, whatever. She had to go through everything, including his journals. in case he mentioned any important research. Otherwise, there was a very good chance she'd miss something. Oh man. Oh man, what else are going to learn there? I'm afraid now. Tucking the journal page away, she hastily pushed the book back into its shelf. Now she was even more glad that she decided to search alone. Yeah, some parts of the past were better off remaining buried in Simt. That one, definitely. Attempting to banish the journal page from her mind, Esther combed through a few stacks of papers and books lying around the study, scanning through them in an attempt to glean any useful information. I mean, Seina really did not basically touch more or less this room. I would say probably the information she's looking for would be somewhere around the desk, given that he was working on it, right? From there, maybe you could move to the books, if he, I don't know, left sources or something. That's not Wikipedia links. Anyway, but her exhaustion from the day's work, along with the esoteric, erudite nature of Isaiah's research, made it increasingly difficult to concentrate. By the way, a tip from me: if you're writing for something for university and so on, technically you don't really need to get the books and such. Go to the Wikipedia, get the info from there. The sources are always at the bottom. Every line is shown where the line was taken from, and you are done. That's why I was writing my projects, that's how I wrote my thesis, and I made it. Anyway, I know I had to point this out, I just had to. Just a little, you know, helpful tip. Perhaps she was better off returning the next day, when presumably she'd have more energy to scan over things. That was fast. She didn't spend much time there. Leaving the study with a faint sense of disappointment, Esther made her way down to the kitchen, where she could hear Seina working happily away. She prepared a rich, hearty vegetable stew for their supper, and a delicious pot of tea to accompany it. Let's go. As night fell, they shared their meal at the little kitchen table, warmed by the nearby cozy hearth. Unlike their quiet lunch, Seina kept up a lively, mostly one-sided conversation all the while, as if she'd suddenly thought of 100 more things to say in Esther's absence. Still, it felt so comfortable somehow. The normal pressures of acting sociable didn't seem to apply around Seina, who seemed content just to share Esther's presence. Even if the older girl rarely spoke. A peace Esther had only felt before when she was alone. How unfamiliar it all was.
Esther? Esther, are you alright?
After we finished washing the dishes and water back in the parlor, Seina gave Esther a curious, slightly worried look.
I think you could use some rest. You look really tired. You did work very hard today.
She couldn't deny Seina's observation. It was becoming steady more of a struggle, keeping her eyes open, and her muscles aged from so much unexpected use.
You're right. I should sleep, so I'll have the energy to go through the study more properly tomorrow. You should rest too, Seina. Yes, Yes, of course. We should be able to go through the chores more quickly tomorrow too, since you're an expert now. Well, I'll see you in the morning then, Esther. Sleep well.
Is she going to be doing the blood thing again? I'm kinda curious if Seina will, like, at some point see that. After pausing for a short moment, she gave a playful little curtsy with a smile, to which Esther nodded in a response. But as she started to turn towards the stairs, Seina hesitated again, glancing back at Esther somewhat shyly.
Esther, you probably aren't very comfortable, right? I mean, wearing your normal day clothes to sleep.
The thought had barely crossed her mind, but Seina was right. Her traveling outfit wasn't exactly the most pleasant thing to rest in.
I think you're too big for any of my clothes, but if you would like, I could give you one of Papa's old chairs to wear at night. He was really tall, so it would be like a nightgown for you.
Just how tall was he?
Only if it's no trouble. No, not at all. If you're going to be staying here for a little while, it makes sense, doesn't it? You can't be wearing the same thing all the time.
That's true.
Anyway, I'll be right back. Stay here just a moment.
Taking off in what was almost a sprint, she bounded over to the stairs, vanishing up them the next moment, taking 3 steps at a time. On the stairs, right? Esther barely had to wait a minute before she heard returning footsteps, and spotted Seina fluttering through the foyer like a white rabbit.
And here we are!
She unfurled a huge black shirt from beneath her arm, flourishing it like a grand cape. Esther tentatively reached out for the shirt, even though it was probably silly of her. She couldn't shake a sense of guilt, agreeing to wear something that belonged to a person so recently deceased.
What do you mean recently? She said she was living there alone for 6 years.
Seina's father, no less. Her eyebrows are different color.
Why did I notice that just now? Well, you can go change the kitchen if you like. I'll wait here.
The same feeling didn't seem to bother Seina, who gave Esther an eager, nearly impatient smile.
Alright.
After a brief pause, she relented, moving to retreat into the kitchen. It was quite chilly away from the fire, so Esther undressed quickly, goosebumps raising on her arms as soon as she unbuttoned her blouse. Once her clothes were hastily folded up beside her, she pulled the shirt over her head, immensely thankful for the loose warmth it provided. How does she look?
Nah, God, this guy has been like 3 meters tall. How does it look?
It looks wonderful. This is my thing, by the way. You know that already if you are here around for a while. A woman wearing shirt? Yeah? She wandered back into the living room, hesitantly shifting her gaze over to Seina. The soft, loose fabric hung over Esther's frame like an oversized dress, her arms lost in the flowing sleeves. It smelled remarkably clean. Seina must have kept washing her father's clothes all these years. Wow!
It really suits you, Esther, just like a cozy nightgown.
Seina gasped with delight, clasping her hands together and beaming brightly.
You weren't lying about it being big.
That's what she said. Oh, I'm sorry, but yeah, oh my god. She raised one arm to study her dangling sleeve, feeling somewhat embarrassed about how ridiculous she must have looked. Still, she had to admit it. It was much cozier than her blouse and skirt. It also made Esther feel a little more at home, instead of a wanderer simply staying overnight.
Thank you, Seina. I promise I'll take good care of it. I promise I'll take good care of it. Oh, you don't need me to be so formal, Esther. It's only just a shirt. But I hope you like it. Papa was always very practical, so I think he'd be glad to know his clothes were being put to good use again.
A gentle smile crossed Seina's features, carrying a trace of both sadness and warm affection.
Well, now that you've got something nicer to sleep in, I suppose it's bedtime. Good night, Esther. Sleep well. Good night, Seina. Thank you again.
When they parted ways and Seina's bedroom door had softly clicked shut upstairs, Esther lowered herself on the couch once more. It was her second night here, but it was already starting to feel like something of a pleasant routine. Pleasant. If thought for thought always had to preface her sleep. Okay, so it is like that. Reaching down for where her satchel still rests on the floor, Esther pulled out a small silver watch from before. Reluctantly, but methodically, she flicked the switch and pushed the needle in her arm, siphoning out her blood, before forcing the altered compound back into her vein. Oh, now that I think about it, so there is some mechanism only in that watch, but there is no like any kind of medicine or whatever, right? That is also injected into the, I guess, blood when it moves around. Anyway, around and around that hand spun until they marked a full day's worth of hours. The syringe slipped free from her skin, leaving only a few beads of deep red behind. It was difficult to describe the strange, sickly discomfort she felt during and after the process. At first there was a modicum of relief, a pleasant buzz that distracted her from the injection. But within a few moments, it swiftly turned to a nose-eating wave in the pit of her stomach, a feeling like something alien and unwanted had begun circling in her bloodstream. She had to keep doing it, for now. One day, she'd no longer be dependent on the loathsome thing. But she could only dream of when that day would finally come. Curling her legs up on the sofa, Esther huddled beneath the blankets. She felt far more comfortable in Isaiah's shirt, at least, for it hardly mattered, considering how deeply tired she was. Before long, the warmth of the well-deserved sleep began to drown out all of her thoughts. The wave on her mind steadily cleared, fading into the muddy haze. Until at last, she was pulled into the timeless world of dreams. And we were pulled into the end of the episode. I believe so. Yes. We'll continue tomorrow. For now, hope you enjoyed. Hope you have a wonderful day and night. And I'll see you in the next one. So tomorrow. Bye bye.